Hey, this is C&D channel. I'm Chris. This is MMA for you. I'm going to be doing my post-fight analysis for UFC on Fox 4. Overall, this was a great card. The main card was really fun to watch. There's some great finishes, knockouts, submissions. I mean, a lot of back and forth fights, a lot of brawls. It was just overall just a really good card, top to bottom. I can't speak highly enough of this card, really. Just about every, except for maybe Phil Davis versus Ragnar Prado, because of the eye poke, but otherwise, pretty much everyone performed really well, and it was just really fun to watch. As far as picks go, I didn't do great. In the undercard, I only got 1 of 6. It's 1 of 5 if you don't count the Davis versus Prado fight. But I did get all of the main card fights correct, so I'm pretty happy about that, at least. Otherwise, let's just get right to it. Okay, Mauricio Shogun Rua beat Brandon the Truth Vera by TKO in the 4th round. This was a good fight. I mean, this was a really fun, it was a dog fight. There was a lot of heart in this fight. I mean, these guys were game. They showed really good chins. So there's a lot of positives. It was a fun fight. Vera looked really good. The best I've ever seen him. Shogun, it's tough to say. He looked, honestly, once the second round happened, he looked like the worst I've ever seen him. Not the worst I've ever seen him, but he looked pretty bad. This fight's kind of strange because you got to take the good with the bad. It was a good fight. They showed a lot of heart. They showed really good chins. Both guys were always in the fight, but at the same time, you got to take the bad too. It's Shogun looked really gassed by the second round, and Vera didn't look much better. They were getting taken down relatively easily. I don't know how Vera sometimes looks like he would just go down, a couple times. So, it was also, at times it'd get sloppy too, which was fun to watch, but it doesn't really speak well about, their place in the division too, because it's kind of like, Shogun looks like an old 30-year-old. He's only 30, but he's just noticed to be slower. His cardio's not there. He still has a lot of power and a good chin. It's good that these guys didn't fight John Jones because, honestly, after this performance, they looked like they'd get destroyed by Jones. So, like I said, though, I know I'm bashing the fight, but you gotta. Like I said, analyzing it, you got to take the good with the bad as well. So it's tough to say where Shogun really is these days because he's always in the fight, but he definitely looks like a guy that's past his prime. And Vera too, this is the best I've ever seen him in a while. He throws really good combinations. It's just when he tends to brawl, that's when he was getting clocked. He's clocking Shogun as well. But it's when the guy gets technical that he just looks really good. He actually looks kind of like a top fighter. For a guy with his wrestling background, he was getting pinned against a cage a lot. Which doesn't it's kind of just surprising because he has a Greco-Roman background. Otherwise, like I said, it was the best I've ever seen Brandon Vera look, though, and I think he should get, he's not going to get cut because this is, he beat Elliot Marshall before this. I'd like to see this Brandon Vera moving forward, and maybe it'd give him another chance. As far as Shogun goes, I think if Glover Teixeira beats Rampage, he should fight him. Maybe Alexander Gustafsson. That fight with Thiago Silva sounds really good right now. For Vera, rematch with Thiago Silva would be good, but another good fight for him, I think, would be Ryan Bader. Next fight after that, Lyoto Machida beat Ryan Bader by knockout in the second round. Man, this is awesome. Vintage Machida performance here. I mean, seriously, Bader couldn't even touch him. I mean, seriously, it was classic Machida. He showed a very powerful right hand, because usually you see his left hand, but he showed a really powerful right hand this time. And his timing was good, his range was good. I mean, Bader just had nothing for him. I mean, it was so surprising how like easy it looked for Machida. I mean, Bader went for broke and got KO'd bad. Machida gets a title shot because of this against Jones. Really interesting fight now. It's kind of a lot of MMA fans, including myself, kind of scoffed at the idea of the winner of the guy who looked the best out of these four fighters is going to get the title shot, and everyone kind of groaned. And now that Machida just knocked out Bader cold, really goes to show that, it's like, whoa, hey, Machida actually doesn't sound like a bad challenge for the winner of Jones versus Bader, or Jones versus Henderson now, Bader, what can I say about him, good fighter, just not a great fighter. He beat Rampage, so he has that name fighter under his belt, but I think it speaks more about how bad Rampage looked more so than how good Bader looked. Obviously, Machida's such a hard guy to fight. But Bader really, he shows a good wrestling, good double leg, and a strong overhand right. I don't see a lot of other great things from Bader, to be perfectly honest with you. He's kind of like a wrestler with a good right hand. Which I guess you can say that about like Kozchek or even Dan Henderson, and that's actually gotten them really far. But yeah, Bader was just another victim. One thing that's really interesting about Bader, he's lost 3 times now. Every time he loses, he gets finished. He got submitted by Jones, he got submitted by Tito, and now he got knocked out by Machida. He's still 29, but it makes you wonder where he's gonna be. I think he's gonna always be around the top of the division, but I can't imagine him actually getting a title shot. It doesn't seem like he has it, to be a true title contender. Obviously, the division is not that stocked up of title contenders, so but I can't really see him get a title shot. There's a couple guys besides Machida I can see him beat, but it goes back to the thing though, if a lot of these guys are kind of fading, say he fought Shogun, Bader versus Shogun might win, but Bader would actually have a chance on him. He's just a younger, fresher guy, better cardio, better conditioned fighter at this point. With Bader, it's tough to say who should fight next. I mean, he can beat the mid tier guys. You give him Igor Prokorac, Anthony Farash, or any of those guys, he can beat them. So you kind of have to give him I like him versus Vera. That'd be good. Even though Vera, it's tough to say if he looked good because Shogun looked so bad. I think this was actually just the best I've ever seen him. But yeah, it's hard to really put pinpoint where Bader should go from here, because he shows he consistently beats the mid tier of the division. He does have some vintage wins, or he does have some good wins over higher level guys like Lil Nogueira or Rampage. But when he's fought the very top guys like Machida or Jones, and he somehow lost to Tito, he doesn't win those ones. So he's just in a really weird limbo right now. Yeah, so it's really hard to guess who should fight, to be honest, next. With Machida, though, one other thing I like about Machida, and you saw it, like, once he won the title, especially, or after the Thiago Silva fight, his English is a lot better. He's just a lot more personable now, even more so. The camera was on him after Dana White's announcement. He's showing, like, the title belt, smiling, I mean, he's just, he's just, I guess the word is personable, I guess. I mean, he's always been that way, but, it's just really nice to see that about him. Besides we're in the cage, outside the cage, he's trying to be more, definitely more fan-friendly, I guess. Next fight after that, Joe Lozon beat Jamie Varner by triangle choke in the third round. This was a cool fight. This was an awesome back-and-forth fight. Showed all elements of MMA. You saw the striking, you saw wrestling, you saw heart, gameness, jiu-jitsu, all there. Props to Varner. I didn't pick him to win, but he was in the fight the whole time. No mental issues with him. He looked good. He looked like a very solid fighter, too. Lozon, surprisingly, I picked him to win, but he's a guy that generally doesn't look fresh after the first round. And in this fight, he was the fresher fighter. I think Varner, though, did take this fight on short notice, replacing Evan Dunham. This was a great fight. Lozon really capitalizes on opportunities on the ground, especially. I mean, when he sees a sub, he definitely goes for it, especially like in the scramble and whatnot. So he's always dangerous in that regard. The way that Varner went for the double leg, Lozon would get, I forgot, they're like whizzers, but, I forgot, overhooks. He got double overhooks, and which controlled his body, and he managed to get butterfly sweep, because Lozon's really good at the butterfly guard, and sweeping from the butterfly. Gotta watch out for that when he's on the bottom, because he uses that a lot and does it really well too. And that triangle choke, beautiful stuff. Lozon, he lost to Pettis before this, but he beat like Melvin Gillard. Now he beat Varner. He beats certain guys. He's been beating some better guys as of late. I think he should get the winner of T.J. Grant versus Evan Dunham, the winner of Michael Johnson versus David Castillo, and maybe Varner should get the losers of those fights. But yeah, Lozon's looking good. He's also in a weird place because he can't seem to really get past that hump. It's like he can't really seem to truly break into that top 10. He's a really skilled fighter. I think he saw some defensive holes in his stand-up, though. He doesn't have much head movement. He tends to just, stand in front of the guy and just protect his head. A lot of times, allow the other guy to just kind of tee off on him. So he still needs work there. But really good win for him. That was really a back-and-forth fight. I like that one. And the next fight after was actually a pretty back-and-forth one as well, as Mike Swick beat DeMarcus Johnson by knockout. This was a really cool knockout. DeMarcus Johnson is keeping the streak alive of that win or lose. His fights always end in a finish, and most of the time it's an emphatic finish. Takedown to just this monster ground and pound punches. DeMarcus won that first round. He mounted him. They were brawling. That was Swick's problem, because when he wasn't brawling, and he found right hands pretty early on DeMarcus Johnson. It's just it's when they started brawling that DeMarcus could really get his shots in. And then when he got on top of him and mounted him, did not look good for Swick. But he managed to turn it around in that second round. Good stuff, man. Just good stuff for Swick. Good comeback for him. I think he should kind of fight a little lower in the division. Maybe the winner of Brenneman versus Noak. James Head, who's coming off a 2-fight win streak in welterweight now. Maybe a rematch with Paul Thiago if he beats Dong Hyun Kim, or Dong Hyun Kim if he beats Paul Thiago. Or maybe the winner of John McGuire versus John Hathaway. There's good fights for him. I don't think he should be thrown to like near the top. Kind of more mid for him is what I'd like to see. Okay, on to the prelims. Nam Phan beat Cole Miller by split decision. Phan was just really accurate. Those left hooks, his body punches were there. Miller made one big mistake. He really wants to be exciting. He wants to war, pretty much. And that really cost him because Nam Phan was just the better, overall, he's the better technical striker than Cole Miller. Miller was a taller guy. When he was fighting at range, using front kicks, jabs, he was doing really well, especially around the first round. It's just later on when he kind of abandoned that and just, around the third, he's just using all hands. That's really cost him. Because Phan was he's slipping punches and countering. He's throwing good combinations. Wobbled Miller a lot of times. But yeah, this was a really fun fight. Kind of worried there because even though I picked Cole Miller, when they announced a split decision, I thought after the fight was over, I thought Nam Phan should have won. And when they announced a split, I was like, he might get robbed again, like against London Garcia. Fortunately, that did not happen. Miller's on a really bad losing streak, too. So, I lost to Steven Seiler before this, now to Nam Phan. But he's always a gamer. I think he'll be back. He's not doing so well in featherweight, though. So, he really needs a good win in the division. Nam Phan, he's still a journeyman guy. He doesn't fight more mid and lower tier fighters. Yeah. Can't say much about Phil Davis versus Ragnar Prado. So it ended in an accidental eye poke. So we'll go to Hani Yahya versus Josh Grisby. Yahya won by a north-south choke in the first round. Grisby's done. I mean, I hate to say it. He is such a promising guy. He's still really young, but he's lost so many in a row now. He's doesn't look that great. Yahya is dangerous on the ground. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He's always gonna be there, but he's always like a lower and mid tier guy. He can beat the Grisbys of the world, but there's some other guys. Sometimes they give Yahya some really tough guys too, like Mendez and stuff. But he's just a guy that'll always be there. He should fight more mid, lower tier of the division. If you want to give him someone like Nam Phan, that makes perfect sense to me. Next fight after that, Phil DeFries beat Ole Thompson by rear naked choke in the second round. There's not really much I can say. They're both lower tier guys. Ole Thompson doesn't have a win in the UFC yet. He's been finished in both his fights. He got finished against Sean Jordan and now by Phil DeFries. Might get cut, but he might get another fight. With DeFries, it's tough to say. He's lost to Stipe Miocic. I think he beat. How did he beat? Proughton or something like that. Otherwise, just more lower to mid tier of the division. And next right after that, Manny Gambarian beat Michihiro Omigawa by unanimous decision. Manny definitely got more of the takedowns in this fight. Omigawa's game. You got to see Gambarian's face was pretty busted up by the end of the fight, but he still ended up winning. Omigawa isn't doing so well either. I think he's on a 2-fight. He lost to Alcantara before this, and now Gambarian. He beat Jason Young before that, but he lost 2 before that, so he might be done. I don't know, the UFC seems to like him. Manny Gambarian got that much needed win, but it's a slow climb for him. Because he's lost against guys like Nunez, of course Aldo, Tyson Griffin. Stuff to say. I mean, if you want to give him a lot of these guys that fought here can fight each other. Gambarian versus Yahya makes sense. Gambarian versus Nam Phan works too. And finally, John Moraga beat Ulysses Gomez in the first round by knockout. You know, good way to introduce yourself to a new division. I thought a lot of people had Gomez winning, especially with his submission prowess, but Moraga, you know, just knocked him out. There's not too many guys out there, you know. I believe Godinau is gonna fight Lineker or something, like Carriazo or something like that. Jeez, I know there's like Lineker, Dodson, Carriazo, Yama. I mean, there's a couple fighters here and there. But Moraga versus even Ian McCall would be cool too, you know. Gomez, you know, he's a good fighter, you know. Like I said, there's not a lot of flyweights. They need more high-level flyweights. You can fight any of those guys I mentioned, you know. So yeah, that's pretty much it for my UFC on Fox 4 post-fight analysis. If you guys have any comments, just leave them below. And that's it for MMA for you. Thank you guys very much.